Boxer refuses to train with fat woman. What she does next leaves him stunned. Ethan "the Tank" Lawson was a rising star in the boxing world. Known for his unmatched speed and precision in the ring, he had earned his nickname from his unrelenting drive and power during matches. At just 24 years old, he was already on the verge of a title shot, and his reputation as a focused, no-nonsense athlete was growing. But along with his fame came a certain arrogance. Ethan believed that success came only to those who looked the part and worked tirelessly to maintain their image. To him, boxing wasn't just a sport, it was a way of life, and anyone who didn't fit his mold didn't belong. That attitude was on full display one Tuesday morning at Steel Fist Gym, where Ethan trained daily. The gym, a gritty and no-frills establishment, was known for producing some of the toughest fighters in the country. Ethan had been a regular there since he was 16, and everyone respected him, not just for his skills, but for his dedication. He was the type who would show up before dawn to train and wouldn't leave until the lights were turned off. But that day, something, or rather, someone, threw off his routine. Ethan was working on the heavy bag, delivering a series of rapid punches, when he noticed a commotion near the front desk. Turning his head, he saw a woman entering the gym. She was tall, with a bright smile and an infectious energy. But what caught Ethan's attention, and not in a good way, was her physique. She was heavier than anyone else in the gym, and she was carrying a pair of boxing gloves that looked almost brand new. The woman approached the front desk, where Coach Mick, the gym's owner, greeted her warmly. Ethan paused, watching as they spoke. The woman's enthusiasm was evident, and she gestured excitedly as she handed over her membership paperwork. Mick glanced over at Ethan and called out, "Hey, Tank. Come meet our newest member, Olivia." Ethan hesitated but walked over reluctantly, his gloves slung over his shoulder. Olivia turned to him, her smile wide. "Hi, I'm Olivia," she said, extending her hand. "I'm really excited to be here. I've always wanted to try boxing." Ethan stared at her hand for a moment before shaking it briefly. "Ethan," he said curtly. Mick grinned. "Olivia's looking to get into shape and learn some self-defense. I was thinking you could help show her the ropes." Ethan's eyebrows shot up. "Me? Mick, I'm training for a title fight. I don't have time to—" "Relax, Tank," Mick interrupted. "I'm not asking you to stop your training. Just show her a few basics when you've got a minute." Ethan looked at Olivia, his expression skeptical. "No offense, but boxing isn't just a workout. Stuff. It's not for everyone." Olivia's smile faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "I know it's tough. That's why I'm here. I want to push myself." Ethan shrugged. "All right, let's see what you've got." Ethan led Olivia to an empty corner of the gym, where he grabbed a pair of focus mitts and handed them to her. "Okay, let's start simple," he said. "Throw a jab. Left hand." Olivia nodded and positioned herself awkwardly, her feet too close together. She threw a slow, hesitant jab that barely tapped the mitt. "Not bad," Ethan said sarcastically. "If you're trying to swat a fly." Olivia flushed but kept her composure. "I'm just getting warmed up." Ethan sighed. "All right, try again. This time, step into it. Put some power behind it." Olivia adjusted her stance and threw another jab, slightly better than the first. Ethan shook his head. "You've got a long way to go." For the next hour, Ethan worked with Olivia, correcting her form and demonstrating techniques. But his attitude was dismissive, and his frustration was obvious. He didn't hold back his criticism, making comments like, "You're too slow," and "You're not hitting hard enough." By the end of the session, Olivia was drenched in sweat, her face red from exertion. But she didn't complain. Instead, she thanked Ethan for his time and promised to keep practicing. Ethan watched her leave, shaking his head. "She's wasting her time," he muttered to Mick as Olivia walked out the door. Mick frowned. "You don't know that, Tank. Everyone starts somewhere." "Yeah, but not everyone's cut out for this," Ethan replied. "She's better off finding something else." But Olivia didn't quit. She came back to the gym the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Each time, she pushed herself harder, practicing the techniques Ethan had shown her and asking questions whenever she could. She even stayed after hours to hit the heavy bag, determined to improve. Ethan couldn't help but notice her persistence, though he still doubted she had what it took to succeed. "She's got heart, I'll give her that," he admitted to Mick one evening. "But heart only gets you so far." Mick chuckled. "You'd be surprised. Sometimes heart is what makes all the difference." One afternoon, about a month after Olivia joined the gym, Ethan was working on his footwork drills when he heard the sound of gloves hitting the speed bag. He turned and saw Olivia, her movements surprisingly fluid and controlled. She wasn't perfect, but her progress was undeniable. Mick walked over and nudged Ethan. "Looks like she's getting the hang of it." Ethan shrugged. "She's improved, sure. But that doesn't mean she's ready for a real fight." Mick raised an eyebrow. "How do you know? Have you even sparred with her?" Ethan scoffed. "Come on, Mick. Sparring? With her? Why not?" Mick said, his tone challenging. "You might be surprised." Reluctantly, Ethan agreed to spar with Olivia. The gym was abuzz with curiosity as the two stepped into the ring, gloves on and headgear secured. Olivia looked nervous but determined, while Ethan exuded his usual confidence. "All right," Mick said, acting as referee. 3 rounds. Keep it clean. Let's go." The first round began, and Ethan started slow, throwing light jabs to test Olivia's reflexes. To his surprise, she blocked most of them and even countered with a jab of her own that landed squarely on his chest. "Not bad," Ethan said, stepping back. "But let's see how you handle this." He picked up the pace, moving around the ring with quick footwork and throwing combinations. Olivia struggled to keep up at first, but she adapted, using the defensive techniques Ethan had taught her. By the end of the round, she was holding her own. The second round was even more surprising. Olivia landed a clean hook that caught Ethan off guard, earning cheers from the onlookers. She followed up with a series of body shots that showed her growing confidence and skill. Ethan couldn't believe it. The woman he had dismissed as unfit for boxing was now pushing him to his limits. He grinned, a mix of frustration and respect. "All right, Olivia. You've got my attention." By the time the third round ended, Ethan was breathing heavily, sweat dripping down his face. Olivia was exhausted too, but the fire in her eyes burned bright. Mick stepped into the ring, raising her hand. Winner by decision, he declared, "Olivia." The gym erupted in applause, and Olivia smiled wide, her face glowing with pride. Ethan shook his head, laughing as he removed his gloves. "All right, Olivia. You proved me wrong." She extended her hand, the same bright smile from their first meeting on her face. "Thanks for pushing me, Ethan. I couldn't have done it without you." He shook her hand, a genuine smile on his face. "No, Olivia. You did this. You earned it." The days following Olivia's unexpected victory brought a palpable shift to the gym. Olivia, once the newcomer others barely noticed, now commanded the respect of everyone, including Ethan. Her victory wasn't just about landing punches, it was about her relentless determination, her ability to rise above doubts, and her willingness to challenge stereotypes. And in the process, she had done what few others could, humbled Ethan the Tank Lawson. But Olivia wasn't done. If anything, her victory lit an even stronger fire within her. She arrived at the gym earlier than ever, often beating Ethan to the punch, both literally and figuratively. She dedicated herself to perfecting her technique, shadowboxing until her arms ached, running drills with precision, and sparring with anyone who dared step into the ring with her. Her progress was undeniable, and she had her sights set on the next challenge. One afternoon, Ethan found himself watching Olivia from a distance. She was working on the heavy bag, her punches sharp and powerful, her movements fluid. He couldn't help but admire how far she'd come in such a short time. It was clear that she wasn't just passionate, she had talent. And as much as it stung his pride to admit it, she had earned his respect. Ethan approached her as she finished her set, breathing heavily but smiling. "Olivia," he said, tossing her a water bottle. "You've been putting in the work." She caught the bottle and grinned. "That's the idea, right?" Ethan chuckled. "You're better than most people who walk through those doors, you know that?" Olivia shrugged modestly. "I've had good teachers." Ethan shook his head. "Don't sell yourself short. You've got the heart and the skill. That's a rare combination." Olivia's smile widened, but she quickly shifted gears. "So what about you? ready for another sparring session? Ethan smirked. You think you're ready for round 2? More than ready, Olivia said confidently. And this time, I'm not holding back. The second sparring session drew an even bigger crowd than the first. Word had spread about Olivia's skills, and everyone was curious to see how she would fare against Ethan now that she had gained more experience. The energy in the gym was electric as the two stepped into the ring, gloves on and headgear secured. Mick, once again acting as referee, gave them a playful grin. All right, you two. Let's keep it clean. 3 rounds. May the best fighter win. The bell rang and the match began. This time, Ethan didn't hold back. He started strong, testing Olivia with quick jabs and combinations. But Olivia was ready. She moved with confidence, blocking and dodging his attacks with ease. When she saw an opening, she countered with a powerful hook that caught Ethan off guard. The crowd erupted in cheers as Olivia pressed forward, landing a series of punches that forced Ethan to retreat. But Ethan wasn't about to go down without a fight. He adjusted his strategy, using his superior footwork to keep Olivia on her toes. By the end of the first round, both fighters were evenly matched, and the crowd was on the edge of their seats. The second round was even more intense. Olivia's determination was on full display as she pushed herself to keep up with Ethan's relentless pace. She took a few hits but never wavered, using every ounce of strength and focus to stay in the fight. Ethan, meanwhile, couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Olivia was giving him one of the toughest matches of his career, and he respected her all the more for it. As the round drew to a close, Olivia landed a clean uppercut that sent Ethan stumbling backward. The crowd erupted into cheers, and even Mick let out a whistle of admiration. "Damn, Tank," Mick said with a grin. "She's got your number." Ethan laughed, shaking his head. "Yeah. Let's see how round 3 goes." The final round was a battle of wills. Both fighters were exhausted, their bodies drenched in sweat, but neither was willing to back down. Olivia's punches were sharper than ever, and Ethan's counters were quick and calculated. The crowd cheered with every hit, the energy in the gym reaching a fever pitch. With seconds left on the clock, Olivia saw an opening and delivered a powerful right hook that landed squarely on Ethan's jaw. The impact sent him stumbling, but he managed to stay on his feet until the bell rang. The crowd erupted into applause as Mick stepped into the ring, raising both fighters' hands. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mick announced, "let's hear it for these 2 warriors." That was one hell of a match. Ethan turned to Olivia, a genuine smile on his face. "You've got serious talent, Olivia. Keep this up, and you'll be unstoppable." Olivia beamed, her chest swelling with pride. "Thanks, Ethan. Coming from you, that means a lot." As the weeks turned into months, Olivia continued to excel. She entered her first amateur boxing tournament and dominated the competition, earning a championship belt and the admiration of everyone at Steel Fist Gym. Ethan, now one of her biggest supporters, became her unofficial coach, offering tips and advice to help her refine her skills. But Olivia's journey wasn't just about boxing. She used her platform to inspire others, sharing her story of perseverance and self-discovery. She spoke at schools, community centers, and fitness events, encouraging people to pursue their passions and believe in themselves. One day, after a particularly grueling training session, Olivia sat with Ethan and Mick in the gym's lounge. As they sipped their post-workout shakes, Olivia reflected on how far she had come. "You know," she said, "when I first walked into this gym, I wasn't sure if I belonged. I was nervous, intimidated, and totally out of my comfort zone." Ethan nodded. "And now look at you. You've proven everyone wrong, including me." Olivia laughed. "You were a tough critic, that's for sure. But I'm glad you pushed me. It made me stronger." Mick grinned. "You've earned every bit of success, Olivia. And you've inspired a lot of people along the way." Olivia smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thanks, Mick. And thanks to both of you. This gym has become more than just a place to train. It's become a second home." As Olivia's career continued to rise, so did her impact. She became a symbol of resilience and determination, proving that strength came in all shapes and sizes. And while she still faced challenges and setbacks, She faced them with the same grit and perseverance that had brought her this far. For Ethan, watching Olivia's journey was a humbling experience. She had taught him that true strength wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional, and spiritual. And in the process, she had reminded him why he had fallen in love with boxing in the first place. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Ethan and Olivia stood outside the gym, looking up at the glowing sign. "You know," Ethan said, "I think you've inspired me as much as I've inspired you." Olivia smiled. "That's what it's all about, isn't it? Pushing each other to be better." Ethan nodded. "Yeah. And you've done more than that. You've changed the game." As they stood there, side by side, they both knew that their journey was far from over. But they also knew that together, they could face whatever came next, and inspire others to do the same. As Olivia's reputation grew, so did her opportunities. What began as a personal journey of self-discovery had blossomed into something far greater. She was being invited to tournaments, featured in sports magazines, and even asked to give motivational speeches at events. The gym, once a place where she was just another hopeful, had become her sanctuary, a place where she not only trained but also inspired. Ethan watched her transformation with a mixture of pride and awe. Olivia wasn't just a fighter, she was a phenomenon. Her ability to connect with people, to show them that anyone could rise above their circumstances, was unparalleled. She embodied everything Ethan hadn't appreciated about boxing when he was younger: the mental fortitude, the emotional resilience, and the community that came with it. But Olivia's rise wasn't without its challenges. The attention she garnered also attracted skeptics. Online forums buzzed with debates about whether she truly belonged in the boxing world, with critics dismissing her success as a gimmick or suggesting she was only gaining fame because of her unconventional story. "People love an underdog," one comment read. "But let's be real, she doesn't have what it takes to compete at the highest level." Ethan noticed the toll these criticisms took on Olivia. Though she tried to brush them off, he could see the doubt creeping into her eyes during training sessions. She pushed herself harder than ever, sometimes to the point of exhaustion, as if trying to prove something not just to the world but to herself. One evening, after an intense workout, Ethan found Olivia sitting alone on the gym steps, staring at her phone. The glow of the screen illuminated the frown on her face. "Everything okay?" Ethan asked, sitting down beside her. Olivia sighed, locking her phone and slipping it into her pocket. "Yeah, just people online being people. You know how it is." Ethan nodded, understanding all too well. "You can't let them get to you, Olivia. Most of those people have never set foot in a gym, let alone a ring. They don't know the first thing about what it takes to do what you've done." "I know," Olivia said quietly. "But it still stings. No matter how hard I work, it feels like it's never enough for some people." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Listen to me. You're not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. For the people who look up to you. For everyone who's ever doubted themselves and found strength because they saw you succeed." Olivia looked at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thanks, Ethan. I needed to hear that." He smiled. "Anytime. Now come on. Let's get back in there and show them why you belong." The turning point came when Olivia was invited to compete in a regional championship. It was her biggest opportunity yet, a chance to prove herself on a larger stage and silence her critics once and for all. The competition was fierce, with seasoned fighters who had years of experience under their belts. But Olivia wasn't intimidated. If anything, the challenge fueled her determination. Ethan threw himself into her training, pushing her harder than ever while ensuring she stayed focused and healthy. Mick joined in, offering his wisdom and strategies honed from decades in the sport. The gym rallied around Olivia, with members cheering her on and offering their support. On the day of the championship, the atmosphere in the arena was electric. Fans packed the stands, their cheers echoing through the space. Olivia's name was announced, and she stepped into the ring, her head held high, her heart pounding with anticipation. Her opponent, a formidable fighter named Cara the Cobra Martinez, was known for her aggressive style and lightning-fast strikes. As the bell rang, Olivia found herself immediately on the defensive, dodging Cara's rapid jabs and hooks. Ethan watched from the corner, his fists clenched. Stay calm, Olivia, he murmured under his breath. Stick to the plan. The first round was tough. Kara dominated, landing several solid hits that left Olivia reeling. But Olivia refused to back down. Between rounds, Ethan and Mick coached her, reminding her of the techniques they had drilled for weeks. You've got this, Ethan said firmly, gripping her gloves. She's fast, but you're smarter. Look for her tells. She drops her left hand before every hook. Use that. Olivia nodded, her resolve strengthening. As the second round began, she adjusted her strategy, focusing on defense and countering Kara's attacks. She started landing clean, powerful shots that slowed Kara down and shifted the momentum of the fight. By the third round, Olivia was in control. She moved with precision, her punches connecting with a force that earned cheers from the crowd. Kara, frustrated and fatigued, began making mistakes, which Olivia capitalized on. With seconds left on the clock, Olivia delivered a decisive right hook that sent Kara to the canvas. The referee counted, and the crowd held its breath. When Kara failed to get up, the referee signaled the end of the match. Winner by knockout, the announcer declared, Olivia Bennett. The arena erupted into cheers as Olivia raised her arms in victory, tears streaming down her face. Ethan and Mick climbed into the ring, hugging her and shouting their congratulations. You did it, Ethan said, beaming. You showed them all. Mick grinned. You're a champion, Olivia. Don't ever forget that. As Olivia stood in the center of the ring, holding her championship belt, she looked out at the crowd. She saw her family, her friends, and even strangers who had come to support her. And for the first time, she truly felt like she belonged. The victory marked a new chapter in Olivia's journey. The critics who had doubted her were now silent, replaced by fans who celebrated her achievements. She continued to train and compete, but her focus also shifted to giving back. She started a program at Steel Fist Gym to mentor young fighters, particularly those who felt out of place or underestimated. Ethan became her biggest ally in this effort, helping her design training programs and sharing his own experiences. Together, they created a community that welcomed everyone, regardless of their background or abilities. One evening, as the gym buzzed with activity, Olivia and Ethan stood side by side, watching their students spar in the ring. Look at them, Olivia said, her voice filled with pride. This is what it's all about. Ethan nodded. You've built something amazing, Olivia. And it's only the beginning. She smiled, turning to him. I couldn't have done it without you, Ethan. You pushed me when I needed it most. He shook his head. You did the hard work. I just helped you see what you were capable of. Years later, Olivia's story would become the stuff of legend. She went on to win more championships, inspire countless people, and redefine what it meant to be a fighter. But for her, the greatest victory wasn't in the belts or the accolades. It was in the lives she touched and the barriers she broke along the way. As for Ethan, he found a renewed purpose in coaching and mentoring, his own career enriched by the lessons Olivia had taught him. Together, they proved that strength wasn't about how you looked or where you came from. It was about heart, determination, and the courage to keep fighting no matter the odds. And in the end, they both knew that the true power of boxing wasn't in the punches, it was in the people it brought together. As Olivia's mentorship program at Steel Fist Gym gained traction, it began drawing in people from all walks of life. Teenagers who had been bullied, single parents looking for a sense of strength, and even older individuals seeking a community all gravitated to the gym, inspired by Olivia's story. She made it clear that the program wasn't just about boxing, it was about finding inner strength, resilience, and confidence. Ethan quickly found himself deeply involved. He was no longer just a coach or a mentor but a bridge between the old-school boxing world and the new, inclusive vision Olivia had created. Together, they built a space that broke down barriers, and their bond grew stronger with every success story they witnessed. One such story was that of a young boy named Luis. At just 14 years old, Luis had a quiet demeanor and rarely spoke more than a few words. He was thin and frail, with glasses that seemed too big for his face, and the bruises on his arms hinted at the bullying he endured at school. Luis's mother had heard about Olivia's program and brought him to the gym one afternoon, desperate to find anything, that could help her son. Olivia welcomed Luis with open arms. She introduced him to Ethan and the other members of the program, making sure he felt comfortable before stepping into his first session. At first, Luis struggled to even lift his gloves, let alone throw a punch. But Olivia saw something in him, a quiet determination that reminded her of herself when she first walked into the gym. "We'll take it slow," she told him, her voice kind but firm. "This isn't about being the best fighter. It's about finding your own strength. And I promise it's in there." Luis nodded, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. Over the next few months, Luis began to transform. Olivia and Ethan worked with him tirelessly, teaching him not just the physical techniques of boxing but also the mental discipline it required. Luis started to open up, sharing stories about his struggles at school and how powerless he often felt. "You're not powerless," Ethan told him during one session. "Every time you step in here, every time you throw a punch or block a hit, you're taking back control. Remember that." Those words stuck with Luis. He began walking taller, his confidence growing with each session. The day he sparred for the first time, the entire gym gathered to watch. Though his punches were hesitant at first, Luis soon found his rhythm, landing a clean jab that earned cheers from everyone in the room. "I did it," he exclaimed, his face lighting up with a smile that Olivia and Ethan would never forget. Luis wasn't the only success story. There was also Maria, a single mother who had joined the program after surviving an abusive relationship. Boxing became her outlet, a way to channel her pain and rebuild her self-esteem. And there was Frank, a retired firefighter who had struggled with loneliness after leaving the force. At Steel Fist Gym, he found a new sense of purpose as he helped younger members with their training. Each person who walked through the gym's doors brought their own story, their own challenges. And Olivia, with Ethan's unwavering support, made it her mission to help them all find their strength. But success didn't come without its challenges. As the program grew, so did the scrutiny. Some traditionalists in the boxing world criticized Olivia's approach, claiming it diluted the sport's intensity. Others accused her of using her story to gain attention, dismissing her accomplishments as mere publicity stunts. The harshest blow came when a prominent local gym owner, Tony Varga, publicly questioned Olivia's legitimacy as a boxer. "She's a great motivator, I'll give her that," Tony said during an interview. "But boxing is about grit, skill, and raw talent. Not feel-good stories. Let's see how she does against real competition." Olivia bristled when she saw the interview. It wasn't just an attack on her, it was an attack on everything she had built. Ethan, however, remained calm. "Let him talk," he said. "People like that thrive on tearing others down. You don't need to prove anything to him." "But I do," Olivia countered. "Not for him, but for everyone who's ever believed in me. I need to show them that I can stand toe-to-toe with anyone." A few weeks later, Olivia's chance came when she was invited to participate in a regional exhibition match. Her opponent? None other than one of Tony Varga's protégés, a fiery, undefeated fighter named Brianna the Viper Calloway. The buzz surrounding the match was intense. Fans and critics alike speculated about whether Olivia could hold her own against a fighter of Brianna's caliber. Some predicted she'd be humiliated, while others rooted for her to prove the doubters wrong once again. Ethan and Mick worked closely with Olivia in the weeks leading up to the fight, refining her technique and preparing her for Brianna's aggressive style. But they also focused on her mental game, reminding her that she had already overcome obstacles far greater than anything she would face in the ring. "Remember why you're doing this," Ethan told her the night before the fight. "It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you belong." On the day of the match, the arena was packed with spectators. Olivia stepped into the ring to thunderous applause, her heart pounding as she faced Brianna across the canvas. Brianna was taller and leaner, with a menacing glare that could unnerve even the most seasoned fighters. But Olivia stood her ground, her determination shining through. The bell rang and the fight began. Brianna came out swinging, her punches fast and powerful. Olivia struggled in the first round, taking several hits as she tried to find her footing. The crowd gasped as Brianna landed a particularly brutal combination that sent Olivia stumbling back against the ropes. But Olivia didn't falter. Between rounds, Ethan and Mick coached her, their voices steady and encouraging. Stay focused, Ethan said. She's aggressive, but she's leaving herself open. Look for the gaps. In the second round, Olivia began to adapt. She moved with more confidence, blocking Brianna's attacks and countering with sharp jabs that landed cleanly. The crowd's cheers grew louder as Olivia fought back, her resilience on full display. By the third round, it was clear that Olivia wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She landed a series of body shots that slowed Brianna down, followed by a powerful uppercut that sent her opponent reeling. The momentum had shifted, and the crowd was on its feet. The final round was a test of endurance. Both fighters were exhausted, their bodies bruised and battered, but neither was willing to back down. In the closing seconds, Olivia saw her opening and delivered a devastating right hook that sent Brianna to the canvas. The referee counted, and when Brianna failed to get up, the bell rang. Winner by knockout, the announcer declared, Olivia Bennett. The arena erupted into cheers as Olivia raised her arms in victory. Ethan and Mick rushed into the ring, lifting her onto their shoulders as the crowd chanted her name. In the post-fight interview, Olivia was asked what the victory meant to her. "This isn't just my win," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "This is for everyone who's ever been told they're not enough. For everyone who's ever doubted themselves. Boxing isn't just about strength, it's about heart. And tonight, we showed the world what heart can do." The victory silenced Olivia's critics once and for all. Even Tony Varga, begrudgingly, admitted her skill. But for Olivia, the win was about more than proving herself. It was about inspiring others to believe in their own potential. Back at the gym, Olivia and Ethan celebrated with their community. As they raised their glasses in a toast, Ethan smiled at her. "You've come a long way, Olivia. And we've got a long way to go," she replied. "But I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else." As the laughter and cheers filled the gym, Olivia knew one thing for certain. Her journey was far from over. And with the people she loved by her side, she was ready for whatever came next. After Olivia's victory against Brianna the Viper Calloway, the buzz surrounding her career reached new heights. Reporters from national outlets wanted interviews, sponsors began knocking on her door, and fans across the world praised her as a symbol of perseverance and resilience. Despite the newfound attention, Olivia remained grounded. Steel Fist Gym was still her sanctuary, and her mentorship program continued to be her passion. One day, as Olivia finished up a training session, Ethan approached her with a mischievous smile. "What's with that look?" Olivia asked, raising an eyebrow. Ethan held up a flyer. "I've got an idea." She took the flyer and read it aloud. "International Open Invitational, the best fighters from around the globe." "Ethan, this is a pro-level event. You think I'm ready for this?" "I don't think you're ready," Ethan said, his smirk widening. "I know you're ready." Olivia hesitated. She had proven herself at the regional level, but the international stage was an entirely different beast. The fighters would be tougher, faster, and more experienced. But as she glanced around the gym, seeing the faces of the people she had inspired, her determination solidified. "All right," she said, handing the flyer back to him. "Let's do it." Preparation for the invitational was grueling. Olivia pushed herself harder than ever, sparring with fighters of all styles and increasing the intensity of her conditioning. Ethan and Mick crafted a meticulous training plan, targeting every weakness they could find in her technique. Olivia's focus was unwavering, but so was her anxiety. One evening, as they were wrapping up a session, Ethan noticed her sitting on the edge of the ring, lost in thought. "Talk to me," he said, sitting beside her. Olivia sighed. "What if I'm not good enough? What if I let everyone down?" Ethan shook his head. "You've faced doubt before, Olivia. And every time, you've proved it wrong. This is no different. The people who believe in you aren't expecting you to be perfect. They're inspired by your fight, by your heart. That's what matters." Olivia nodded, his words easing the weight on her shoulders. "Thanks, Ethan. I don't know what I'd do without you." He grinned. "Good thing you don't have to find out." The day of the invitational arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Fighters from every corner of the globe filled the arena, their diverse styles and backgrounds creating a melting pot of talent and intensity. Olivia felt a mix of excitement and nerves as she stepped into the locker room, her hands trembling slightly as Ethan wrapped her gloves. "You've got this," he said, his tone firm. "Remember, it's just another ring, just another opponent. Trust yourself?" Olivia nodded, taking a deep breath. "Let's do this." Her first match was against a French kickboxer named Camille, whose agility and precision were her trademarks. Olivia struggled in the opening round, struggling to adapt to Camille's fast, unpredictable strikes. But with Ethan's guidance, she adjusted her strategy, focusing on timing and countering. By the third round, she had turned the tide, landing a powerful combination that secured her victory. The next opponent was Ivan, a towering Russian heavyweight known for his brute strength. The match was grueling, with Ivan's punches landing like sledgehammers. But Olivia's resilience and speed kept her in the fight. She wore him down over 4 rounds, eventually outscoring him to advance to the semifinals. Each victory brought Olivia closer to the championship match, but it also pushed her to her limits. By the time she reached the finals, her body was battered and bruised, her energy nearly depleted. Her opponent was Aishat the Panther Karim, a fierce fighter from Nigeria with an undefeated record and a reputation for finishing matches in the first round. As Olivia stood in the ring, staring across at Aisha, she felt the weight of the moment. This was the biggest fight of her career, and the odds were stacked against her. But she also felt something else: the unwavering support of everyone who had brought her to this point. The crowd's cheers, Ethan's steady presence in her corner, and the memories of every battle she had fought reminded her why she was here. The bell rang and the match began. Aisha lived up to her reputation, coming out of the gate with a barrage of punches that left Olivia reeling. The first round was brutal, with Olivia barely managing to stay on her feet. Ethan shouted instructions from the corner, urging her to stay composed. "She's fast, but she's predictable," he called out. "Watch her shoulders, they telegraph her hooks." In the second round, Olivia began to find her rhythm. She studied Aisha's movements, identifying patterns and weaknesses. When Aisha threw a wild hook, Olivia ducked and countered with a sharp uppercut that sent shockwaves through the crowd. The third round was a war of attrition. Both fighters were exhausted, their bodies covered in sweat and bruises. But Olivia's determination refused to waver. She landed a series of punches that pushed Aisha back, her power and precision surprising even herself. In the final seconds of the match, with the crowd on its feet, Olivia saw her opening. Aisha dropped her guard for a split second, and Olivia unleashed a devastating right hook that connected cleanly. Aisha stumbled, and the referee began the count. 7, 8, 9. Aisha struggled to her feet just as the bell rang, but it was too late. The judges tallied their scores, and the announcer stepped into the ring. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "the winner by unanimous decision, Olivia Bennett." The arena erupted into cheers as Olivia fell to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion. Ethan and Mick rushed into the ring, lifting her up and shouting their congratulations. "You did it," Ethan said, his voice filled with pride. "You proved them all wrong." Olivia smiled through her tears, holding up her championship belt. "We did it." The victory at the Invitational cemented Olivia's place in boxing history. But more than that, it solidified her role as a symbol of resilience and inspiration. She returned to Steel Fist Gym as a champion, but she remained the same humble, determined fighter who had first walked through its doors. The gym's mentorship program flourished, attracting even more people who saw Olivia as a beacon of hope. Luis, now one of the gym's most promising young fighters, often sparred with Olivia, his confidence growing with each match. Maria, Frank, and the other members of the program continued to thrive, their lives transformed by the sense of community Olivia had created. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Olivia and Ethan stood outside the gym, reflecting on their journey. "Did you ever think we'd get here?" Olivia asked, looking at the glowing sign above the door. Ethan chuckled. "Not in a million years. But I'm glad we did." Olivia smiled, her heart full. "Me too. And I'm not done yet." Ethan nodded. "Good. Because the world needs more fighters like you." As they stood there, side by side, they knew their journey was far from over. But no matter what challenges lay ahead, they were ready to face them together and to inspire others to do the same. As Olivia's championship victory reverberated through the boxing world, it brought waves of new opportunities, but also new challenges. Interviews, sponsorship offers, and invitations to events filled her schedule. Yet, even with her rising fame, she kept her focus on the two things that mattered most: her training and her work at Steel Fist Gym. One afternoon, Olivia stood at the edge of the ring, watching Luis spar with another young fighter. His punches were sharper now, his footwork lighter. The transformation in the once timid boy was nothing short of extraordinary. She couldn't help but smile as she shouted pointers. "Keep your guard up, Luis. Don't drop your hands after the jab." Luis nodded, quickly adjusting his stance. When the round ended, he climbed out of the ring, his face flushed but beaming with pride. "You're looking good out there," Olivia said, handing him a water bottle. "Thanks," Luis replied, catching his breath. "Do you think I'll ever be as good as you?" Olivia knelt to meet his gaze. "Luis, you don't have to be me. You just have to be the best version of you. And trust me, you're already well on your way." As Luis returned to his training, Ethan approached Olivia, a thoughtful look on his face. "What's on your mind?" she asked, noticing his hesitation. He held up an envelope. "You've been invited to the World Boxing Federation's Elite Championship. It's the biggest stage there is, Olivia. The best of the best." Olivia's breath caught in her throat. The Elite Championship was the pinnacle of boxing, an opportunity every fighter dreamed of but few achieved. Yet the thought of stepping into the ring with world-renowned fighters was as daunting as it was thrilling. "Do you think I'm ready?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've faced every challenge head-on and come out stronger each time. This is just the next step. And I'll be with you every step of the way." The months leading up to the championship were some of the most intense of Olivia's life. Ethan and Mick crafted a training regimen that pushed her to her physical and mental limits. Olivia sparred with a variety of fighters, each bringing unique styles and techniques that forced her to adapt and grow. She studied hours of footage, analyzing her potential opponents and formulating strategies for each one. But as the training intensified, so did the pressure. The media scrutinized her every move, and critics resurfaced, questioning whether her rise was a fluke. "She's good, but she's not championship material," one sports analyst said during a televised segment. "The Elite Championship is a whole different level. I don't see her lasting past the first round." Olivia tried to block out the noise, focusing instead on the support of those who believed in her. Luis, Maria, Frank, and the other members of the gym became her cheering squad, encouraging her with every training session. And Ethan remained her rock, always there to lift her spirits when doubt crept in. The day of the championship arrived, and the atmosphere at the arena was electric. The event was being broadcast live to millions of viewers around the world, and the stakes had never been higher. Olivia's first opponent was a seasoned fighter from Brazil, known for her lightning-fast combinations and unrelenting aggression. As the bell rang, Olivia felt a surge of adrenaline. The first round was intense, with her opponent throwing a flurry of punches that forced Olivia to stay on the defensive. But as the fight progressed, Olivia found her rhythm, countering with precise, powerful strikes that wore her opponent down. By the end of the third round, the referee declared Olivia the winner by unanimous decision. Her next two matches were equally challenging. One opponent, a South Korean kickboxing champion, tested Olivia's adaptability with her unorthodox style. The other, a Canadian heavyweight, pushed Olivia to her physical limits with sheer brute strength. But Olivia's determination and preparation carried her through, earning her a spot in the final match. Her opponent in the championship bout was none other than Elena Petrova, a Russian boxing legend with an undefeated record and a reputation for her devastating knockout power. The media billed it as a classic underdog story, with Olivia stepping into the ring against a fighter many considered unbeatable. As Olivia stood in her corner, waiting for the bell to ring, she glanced at Ethan. His steady gaze met hers, and he gave her a small nod. "You've got this," he said firmly. "No matter what happens, you've already proven you belong here." The bell rang and the match began. Elena came out strong, her punches like sledgehammers that rattled Olivia to her core. The first round was brutal, with Olivia struggling to keep up with Elena's relentless pace. But she refused to back down, using her agility and defense to stay in the fight. Between rounds, Ethan and Mick worked to keep Olivia focused. "She's powerful, but she's predictable," Ethan said. "Watch her footwork, she overcommits on her right hook. Use that." In the second round, Olivia began to find openings in Elena's defense. She landed a series of counterpunches that earned cheers from the crowd and forced Elena to adjust her strategy. The match became a chess game, with each fighter trying to outsmart the other. By the fourth round, both fighters were exhausted, their bodies bruised and battered. But Olivia's determination never wavered. She remembered every struggle, every doubt, every moment that had brought her to this point. And she knew she couldn't give up now. In the final moments of the match, with the crowd on its feet, Olivia saw her chance. Elena threw a wide hook, leaving her guard down for just a split second. Olivia stepped in, delivering a powerful uppercut that connected cleanly. Elena staggered, and the referee began the count. 7, 8, 9. Elena struggled to her feet just as the bell rang. The judges deliberated, and the announcer stepped into the ring. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "the winner by split decision, Olivia Bennett." The arena erupted into cheers as Olivia fell to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion. Ethan and Mick rushed into the ring, lifting her up and shouting their congratulations. "You did it," Ethan said, his voice filled with pride. "You're a world champion." Olivia smiled through her tears, holding up her championship belt. "We did it." The victory at the Elite Championship was a defining moment in Olivia's career. She had silenced her critics, proven her place among the best, and inspired countless people around the world. But for Olivia, the true reward wasn't the belt or the accolades. It was the journey, the people who had supported her, and the lives she had touched along the way. Back at Steel Fist Gym, the celebration was in full swing. The gym was packed with friends, family, and members of the community who had cheered Olivia on from the beginning. Luis, now one of the gym's most promising young fighters, presented Olivia with a handmade trophy. "It's not as fancy as the championship belt," he said with a grin. "But it's from all of us. To say thank you." Olivia's heart swelled as she accepted the trophy, her eyes brimming with tears. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "All of you. I wouldn't be here without you." Ethan raised a glass, his voice cutting through the cheers. "To Olivia Bennett, a champion in every sense of the word." The crowd erupted into applause, and Olivia smiled, knowing that this was just the beginning. Her journey had been about more than boxing. It had been about breaking barriers, defying expectations, and proving that strength came from within. And as she looked around at the faces of those she had inspired, Olivia knew that her greatest legacy would be the lives she continued to touch.